Kunda Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari. Gopi Jana Balava Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Balava Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Rukmini Dwarkadish, Rukmini Dwarkadish, Rukmini Dwarkadish, Rukmini Dwarkadish. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paravadakacharya Asutata Sisi Maharaja Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Charges Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paravadakacharya Asutata Sisi Maharaja Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisaranta Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Anantikori Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Premsika host Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Srimati Tosi Devi Ki Jai. Srimati Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki mukam karoti vachalam pangum lagayate girim yat kripatam aham vande shri gurum dina taranam. So reading Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 32, text number 10. Evam paretya bhagavatam anupraviṣṭā ye yogino jita-marun-manaso virāgāḥ tenaiva sākam amṛtaṁ puruṣaṁ purāṇaṁ brahma pradhānam upayānty agatābhimānāḥ evam paretya bhagavatam anupraviṣṭā evam paretya bhagavatam anupraviṣṭā ye yogino jita-marun-manaso virāgāḥ tenaiva sākam amṛtaṁ puruṣaṁ purāṇaṁ brahma pradhānam upayānty agatābhimānāḥ evam paretya bhagavatam anupraviṣṭā ye yogino jita-marun-manaso virāgāḥ tenaiva sākam amṛtaṁ puruṣaṁ purāṇaṁ brahma pradhānam upayānty agatābhimānāḥ evam paretya bhagavatam anupraviṣṭā ye yogino jita-marun-manaso virāgāḥ tenaiva sākam amṛtaṁ puruṣaṁ purāṇaṁ brahma pradhānam upayānty agatābhimānāḥ pradhānam upayānty agatābhimānāḥ evam paretya bhagavatam anupraviṣṭā ye yogino jita-marun-manaso virāgāḥ sākam amṛtaṁ puruṣaṁ purāṇaṁ Ye yogino jita-marun-manaso virāgāḥ tenaiva sākam amṛtaṁ puruṣaṁ purāṇaṁ brahma pradhānam upayānty agatābhimānāḥ evam paretya bhagavantam anupraviṣṭā yogino jita-marun-manaso virāgāḥ tenaiva sākam amṛtaṁ puruṣaṁ purāṇaṁ brahma pradhānam upayānty agatābhimānāḥ evam paretya bhagavantam anupraviṣṭā ye yogino jita-marun-manaso virāgāḥ tenaiva sākam amṛtaṁ puruṣaṁ purāṇaṁ brahma pradhānam upayānty agatābhimānāḥ. Evam, thus, paretya, having gone a long distance, bhagavantam, Lord Brahma, anupraviṣṭāḥ, entered, yea, those who, yoginaḥ, yogīs, jita, controlled, marut, the breathing, manasaḥ, the mind, virāgāḥ, detached, tena, with Lord Brahma, evam, indeed, sākam, together, amṛtaṁ, the embodiment of bliss, puruṣaṁ, unto the personality of Godhead, purāṇaṁ, the oldest, brahma pradhānam, the Supreme Brahman, upayānty, they go, agata, not gone, abhimānāḥ, whose false ego. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The yogis who become detached from the material world by practice of breathing exercises and control of the mind reach the planet of Brahma, which is far, far away. After giving up their bodies, they enter into the body of Lord Brahma, and therefore when Brahma is liberated and goes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Brahman, such yogis can also enter into the kingdom of God. Purport. By perfecting their yogic practice, yogis can reach the highest planet, Brahmaloka or Satyaloka, and after giving up their material bodies, they can enter into the body of Lord Brahma. Because they are not directly devotees of the Lord, they cannot get liberation directly. They have to wait until Brahma is liberated, and only then, along with Brahma, are they also liberated. It is clear that as long as a living entity is a worshipper of a particular demigod, his consciousness is absorbed in thoughts of that demigod, and therefore he cannot get direct liberation or entrance into the kingdom of God, nor can he merge into the impersonal effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such yogis or demigod worshippers are subjected to the chance of taking birth again when there is again creation. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Vancha kalpa trubhyasya kripa sindhuveta paritana pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Also, in this particular verse, we're beginning to hear about this process of meditation, yogic meditation. And from this verse and going forward, there's so many different aspects of how one thinks or can connect with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in this particular verse, where Prabhupada is discussing in purport the yogic practice and how yogis can reach the highest planet, Brahma Loka or Satya Loka. These yogis, they're not interested in really coming to Krishna or devotional service. They utilize their mystic power that they achieve by that meditation process to get powers, to become very renowned, known. I think in the Bhagavatam there's a story of Maya Danava. Maya Danava was also a great yogi. He had mystic power. And his power was so much so that he could revive a dead body. He produced this one elixir or some kind of drink. And what you could do is you take that drink, or they could dip that body into that particular liquid, and the person would come out alive. So these are some of the things that people are attracted to when you start speaking about yoga, the process of yoga. Very few are thinking about the science of self-realization. They're mostly thinking of some kind of mystic power or some kind of fame or distinction or profit, even material profit by that activity. But in Krishna consciousness, we don't see yogic activity in such a manner. Yoginam abhisavisham madgatena dharapmana shadavam bhajata yumam same utaktamo mata. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, of all yogis, he who abides in me in transcendental loving service is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. This is real yoga practice. This is what Krishna consciousness yoga means. To connect with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in yoga, there's a linking process. There's the steps. There's various steps. Just like if someone is performing yoga for some kind of fruitive activity, it's considered that they're practicing karma yoga. And those that are interested in some elevated self-realization or knowledge, power, they can be jnana yogi. So even out there in the world, I've heard call themselves karma yogi, jnana yogi, hatha yogi. All these different types of yogis are there, or yogas are there. But ultimately, the purpose of them is like a linking process to constantly elevate, like the stepping stones, all the way till bhakti yoga. That is the principle. That's the highest of yoga practice. And the bhakti yogi is the only one that's guaranteed that one will go back home, back to Godhead. The other yoga systems cannot guarantee that. You may get a little bit of mystic power, but as we see here in the purport, Prabhupada says that such yogis or demigod worshippers are subjected to the chance of taking birth again when there is a creation again. So that's the downside. Can you imagine practicing these severe austerities, sometimes for some yogis, thousands of years? But what is the end result? The end result is that when there's creation again, they have to take birth. So there's no real result. Some temporary result may be there, some satisfaction. But ultimately, that is not the real purpose. So in the Bhagavad Gita, it's described, Vyasamika buddhya ekaha kurunandana bahusakyanantascha buddhayo vyavasayanam. That those who are on this path of yoga, their purpose is resolute. This is the important understanding. And their purpose is to, and their aim is to connect with Krishna. And their intelligence is focused. They have a focused intelligence. And then this is called that they're resolute in their determination. They're focused on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it's described that those intelligence which is irresolute is many-branched. So these yogis, they are irresolute. They have so many branches of thought. And you can come from like a hatha yogi, then go to a karma yogi, you can go to a jnana yogi. So they elevate, they have different thoughts, different levels of understanding and realization. But ultimately, because they're not resolute in their purpose, and that is to go back home, back to Godhead, they have to take birth again, as we're reading in Prabhupada's saying. So the meaning of this word resolute is that one has strong faith. This is a very important ingredient in this resolute understanding. One has strong faith. And by this faith, one will be elevated to the highest perfection. This is what real resolute determination means. You're resolute in that because you're convinced that you're going to go to a higher plane, to a higher understanding, and get liberation. So that particular individual, that resolution is very, very powerful, and it's actually the perfection of one's life. And Krishna consciousness is like that. We have to practice Krishna consciousness with great faith in the process itself and what we've been taught by the spiritual master, handed down from previous acharyas. So faith means like unflinching trust in something sublime. This is very important because the Krishna conscious movement is very sublime. And that word sublime means that it's of high character, of extreme purity. This is what bhakti means, a high sense of spiritual purity, and of course, excellence. We can see when Srila Prabhupada was present on this planet, if you had an opportunity to be around Srila Prabhupada, he had this high purity. He was excellent to the point when we would see him, Prabhupada would be on Vyasa-san giving the class, we marveled at how he even moved his hands, or we marveled at the way he even drank his water. And his movements, all his movements were gracious and they were beautiful. And this is the meaning of that excellence. And we have to have this faith that if we follow the process of Krishna consciousness, we can develop those characteristics. That's the point of it. To develop these characteristics and become qualified, to go back home, back to Godhead. But we have to be resolute in that purpose. We have to be fixated. The resolute purposes of a person in Krishna consciousness are based on knowledge. It is a very important ingredient. One has to develop knowledge. Vasudeva sarvam iti samahatma sudurlabha. Knowledge is extremely important in order to make advancement in Krishna consciousness. And that knowledge is that one realizes that Krishna is the root of all causes. Krishna is the root of all causes that happen in the material world. It doesn't matter what it is. Krishna is the root cause of it. And this causeless knowledge means we developed it by hearing, shruti. Prabhupada speaks of that, of shruti, hearing. Just like if a person's sleeping and there's some danger, you don't know that danger by seeing. You know that danger by hearing. So in the material world, people like to see. They like to get their information by seeing something But in Krishna consciousness, we see something by hearing about it. Hearing about it from a pure devotee of the Lord. So, when we say that Krishna is the cause of all causes, we mean that everything that's in this planetary system and spiritual world, Krishna is the cause of it. And we see that Prabhupada gives an example of how to understand this point. It's just like if you have a tree, you have a fruit tree, and you water that tree, then the water goes through the trunk of the tree, it goes through the branches of the tree, and it goes through the leaves, and it produces the fruit. So water, we see, is a cause of that plant growing and fructifying. So, in Krishna consciousness, we see that the highest process is hearing about Krishna and serving Krishna, because if we do that, the whole world benefits. You benefit, everyone around you benefits, family benefits, society benefits, the country benefits, everybody benefits when you take on Krishna consciousness with resolute determination and hearing about the science of Krishna consciousness. So this is real yoga. This is the real process of yoga, linking with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this science of Krishna consciousness, it has to be practiced under the guidance of a spiritual master. This is extremely important. We can't do this on our own. A lot of yogis, they try to develop their mystic powers on their own. They don't need anybody. They think they're very powerful in their own austerity and their own sacrifice. So they're thinking that I don't need anyone. But in Krishna consciousness, that's not the process. The process is to develop a relationship and the guidance of a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative. That's also very important. They need to be a bona fide representative of Krishna in the disciplic succession. It can't be just anyone. It has to be in the disciplic succession of Krishna consciousness. And then we should accept instruction from such a bona fide spiritual master and make that the mission of our life. This is also part of yoga process. The spiritual master has a mission. Prabhupada came, he had a mission, and that mission was given to him by his spiritual master. Every day we sing Yasya Prasadam Bhagavat Prasado Yasya Prasadam Nagadikatopi. In that prayer we pray every single day, 7 days a week. We say that we want to please the spiritual master. If the spiritual master is pleased, then Krishna is pleased. If the spiritual master is not pleased, then Srila Prabhupada says that one can never achieve the plane of Krishna consciousness. Yes, it's not possible. So, in Krishna consciousness, it's our duty to take on a spiritual master, learn the science of Krishna consciousness, a bona fide representative, of course, and then if we serve that guru, that spiritual master, we serve his mission. And a prime example of that is like Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was a householder. He had a family, he had a business. He was very responsible. And he took initiation from his guru, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. And what he did was that he tried to communicate with the spiritual master on several occasions. On one point, though, he did write a letter to his guru just before Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj was leaving the planet. And in that particular letter, Srila Prabhupada asked his spiritual master, what can I do? What can I do to please you? He asked for an instruction. And in that instruction, we know is very famous. He told Srila Prabhupada, preach in the Western countries. Preach the science of Krishna consciousness in the Western world. So Prabhupada came. You can see, if you read his pastime about his life, you'll see what Prabhupada went through. The tribulations, the stress and the anxiety that he took upon himself to achieve that mission came to America by a steamboat. He had 2 heart attacks while he was going across the ocean. And even when he landed in America, he had nowhere to go. He only had like $7 worth of rupees in his possession and a little bag. And still Srila Prabhupada persevered. He didn't give up. Sometimes he would, when he was in New York, sometimes he would go to the shipyards, and he would ask, when is the next ship going back to India? But Prabhupada said he never had an intent of really getting on the boat. He just went that as an exercise. He said that his spiritual master was always with him. Prabhupada said he never felt alone. Never once did he feel alone out there in a place which is completely foreign to him. Because Prabhupada said that he had the mission of his spiritual master in his heart and his mind. And that mission was to preach it to the Western world. And that mission is what kept Srila Prabhupada going, that desire to please his spiritual master. So this is an example of supreme yoga, connecting with the personality of Godhead through the message given to us by the spiritual master, the pure devotee of the Lord. And so you can just imagine, here we are in LA, and we have this beautiful temple here, and we can see that if we all took upon ourselves the mission of Srila Prabhupada, or even the mission of your spiritual master, if we took on that mission together, we can only imagine the result of that mission. It could be so huge. And this is what Prabhupada wanted us to do. He wanted all of us to come together as his disciples and to be absorbed in that mission. And when we're absorbed in that mission, then if we please the spiritual master, then Krishna's happy. It's the formula. Krishna's happy then. Because sometimes we may think, well, is Krishna happy with me? Sometimes we may ask ourselves that. Well, I don't know. Does he like me? Does Krishna want me to come back to him? Or what? We don't know. There's a confusion. So that confusion can be eradicated by just taking the mission upon ourselves and doing whatever is possible to accomplish that mission. And whatever comes of that, there'll be very uncomfortable situations, obviously, because this mission is not easy. It's a very difficult one. So we see that the combination of the instruction of the guru and the disciple accepting that instruction and pleasing the spiritual master is a perfect combination for spreading Krishna consciousness in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, which was Prabhupada's mission. And that is real yoga. We're linking with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this fashion, by that activity. Because sometimes we may be thinking, well, how am I going to link with Krishna? What do I got to do? And it's very simple. We have to have a spiritual master. Follow the instruction of the spiritual master. Become absorbed and knowledgeable of the mission of the spiritual master. And then you can be assured that Krishna is happy with you. Because the Guru is happy, Krishna is happy. And if the spiritual master, if you can't connect and serve the Guru to that capacity, then maybe Krishna might be a little bit unhappy with us to some degree. So this is the real yoga process. This is what yoga means in Krishna consciousness. That we take upon ourselves this mission and we try to please the spiritual master. What's that? Tadvidhi paripatena pariprasnena sevya upadekshanti te jnanina sava darshina. It's described that one has to just simply approach the spiritual master. And by approaching the spiritual master, inquire from him submissively. That's the key element, to submissively inquire from the Guru. And then render service to him. That's another one. We should render service to the Guru, to the spiritual master. And then the self-realized souls, they'll look down upon us and give us their mercy. And in that way we make spiritual advancement. And that is real yoga. That's the real science of yoga. Not just sitting somewhere and meditating on the void, or wanting to get some mystic power, or some other activity, something different. So, faith is important. Faith is very sublime. And we said that the sublime factor is that it's a high moral standard. And when we follow the instruction of the Guru sincerely and honestly, it brings us to a high moral standard. Automatically, you can see when you come to a Guru, you make a vow. You chant 16 rounds a day. You follow the 4 principles strictly, and you engage in devotional service. So that's what happens when you associate with that particular level of faith. You have a high moral standard, or even a spiritual purity, or you want even excellence in your life. As you increase your Krishna consciousness, you want everything to be really excellent. You want it to be the best for Krishna, for the Guru, because you're representing them. So you want the best. That's real yoga practice. So, a real bhakta means that one doesn't hesitate to do whatever it takes. That's a real bhakta. A real bhakta is one who, whatever it takes, they don't hesitate. They just become a devotee and they accept the spiritual master, the mood of the spiritual master. They inquire from and they engage in devotional service without any hesitation. So, Srila Prabhupada, I read one time, he said that when you accept a spiritual master, that's very important, to accept a spiritual master, to chant a minimum 16 rounds daily, to worship the deity, to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita class from self-realized or even realized persons for that matter, and to live in a holy place. And Prabhupada said if one accomplishes those 5 things, that means that that person can be called a devotee. That was Prabhupada's exact words. If we follow those 5 processes, then one can say, I'm a devotee. And extremely important. So we should want to be called a devotee, and we can do that simply by following the instruction of the Guru, and we can become linked up to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, according to him. He said this is the highest of all. Also, Krishna says, Maschita matkata prana bodhayantam parasparam katayanta samam nicham tushanti taramanti cha. That, the thoughts of my pure devotees, they dwell within me. The pure devotees dwelling in Krishna, their lives are fully devoted to me. This is the example that Krishna gives. And they have service to me. They're satisfied by that particular service. And they derive bliss in enlightening one another about Krishna consciousness. That's real Krishna consciousness. Real Krishna consciousness, that we try to enlighten each other. We serve Krishna together. We try to enlighten ourselves, enlighten ourselves through the process of Krishna consciousness. That is real Krishna consciousness, yoga practice. Krishna also says, Te sam satatam yuktanam majatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayānty te. Those who are constantly devoted to me and serving me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. This is how Krishna responds to a devotee who sincerely endeavors to please the spiritual master and to actually please Krishna. And that is the science, and that is bhakti yoga. And that's what we're about. And that is the real yoga. All these other types of yoga are simply meant for some kind of sense self-gratification. And even after all that austerity, as Prabhupada says in the purport, there's no guarantee that one will be able to go back to Godhead. No guarantee whatsoever. Okay? Yes, Brahmā Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you. Well, that was really good. That was really solid. You just floored us with the fundamentals. But I have two questions. One, I need a clarification about something, and the other is kind of a little technical about something that was said in the purport. So you're kind of criticizing the yogis in the sense that you're pointing out that it's kind of they're doing it for their own sense gratification, and it's with no guarantee it's going to be successful. But in today's purport, Prabhupada was talking about the yogis, they do the breath control, and they practice the pranayama, and they control their senses, and they go to the planet of Brahma, they merge into the body of Brahma, and at the end of his lifetime, they do go back to Godhead. So I guess you didn't explicitly say it, but I get the impression you were contrasting those yogis with the modern day yogis.
Well, Prabhupada says two things. He says that, but he also says the other thing too in the purport. He also says in the purport that they have to wait until Brahma is liberated, fine. Along with Brahma, then they are liberated. It is clear that as long as a living entity is a worshipper of a particular demigod, his consciousness is absorbed in thoughts of that demigod, and therefore he cannot get direct liberation or entrance into the kingdom of God, nor can he merge into the impersonal effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such yogis or demigod worshippers are subjected to the chance of taking birth again when there is again creation.
Okay, yep, that's clear.
So he says both things, you're right.
What does it mean to merge? Because it said the yogis merge into the body of Brahma, not Brahman, but Brahma.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah, that's a very good question. When I looked at that, I thought myself, what does that mean? I guess in the body. I also read, when I read that, I also thought, wow, I don't think I've ever heard that.
Yeah, okay.
So I wouldn't have an answer for that.
Fair enough.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the incredible class. I was just thinking like something like the same as Prabhu. Like, in what state are these souls that are immersed into Brahman? Are they waiting for liberation, or they just have to come back to, because like they have to wait for a long time until Brahma?
Yes, sometimes a long time. Right. Like 2 lives of Lord Brahma, when Lord Brahma dies, he actually dies. When he dies, at that time he goes back to Godhead. Mm-hmm. And those that are merged within him go with him. They go with Brahma, back home, back to Godhead.
So they are in a kind of sleeping state until the Brahma is...
they're in some kind of a state, yes. Okay. Yes. That we can kind of like a pradhāna state. When you're in a pradhāna state, it's not manifest, it's just on the holding pattern. And then when the glance of Lord Krishna is there in the pradhāna, then creation begins. And that's when Brahma comes too, at that particular time.
Yeah. So just, thank you for the nice class, Prabhu. So whenever we talk about these higher planets, or the Swargaloka or Brahmaloka, transferring to that, right? Whenever we discuss that topic, we often think that progress is made only on the earth planet, and Swarga is like a benefit. But actually, that's not 100% true, because even in the higher planets, people can make progress. Just like when you go Brahmaloka, it doesn't mean that you're just sitting there with doing nothing. I mean, you can continue your progress there also, and it is more even congenial. So in that way, it's a stepping stone too. It's not like it's not that everybody has to come down. It doesn't have to be like that. Yeah. And the second question is that in the class you are given today, there is a very high emphasis on accepting the spiritual master and following his instructions. So, I mean, that is there, like, if you read Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, there is a heavy emphasis on accepting the spiritual master and pleasing him, following the instructions, right? But if you look at the practical side of it, the way ISKCON is established and how we are operating, it is not necessarily 100% guru-centric in one sense. I mean, of course, the disciple accepts the spiritual master, he takes the vows and is there. But on day-to-day aspects, right, it's not necessarily a guru-centric or one guru-centric kind of a setup. It's more, much more broader. So how would you give a practical advice to implement this instruction other than just taking the vows and everything, but in day-to-day operations like that? Like how do you express your sincerity and follow it?
Well, I think an example of that would be like Ramanujacharya. He's the acharya of the sampradaya. And basically in that sampradaya, they all try to please the instruction of Ramanujacharya. Now, in Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada left instructions. There's several things. We know that Srila Prabhupada was very interested in publishing, printing, distribution of his literature, the knowledge of Krishna consciousness. That's something that anyone can become involved in. That not only a disciple of another guru, but even that guru themselves can become fully absorbed in that instruction of distribution, dissemination of books, knowledge of Krishna consciousness. So that's one aspect of it. Now there are personal instructions. That's time and place. So Prabhupada gave a personal instruction to someone, but then he gave another one to another person. So we see that Srila Prabhupada got a personal instruction from his guru, and that was to preach in the Western countries. He made that his mission. So when he came here to America, that was his mission. And the disciples that came to him, that surrendered to him, we all absorbed that mission. And we should still have that mission. We shouldn't, that mission shouldn't go away. It should be there. And you would hope that if one is a guru in ISKCON, that's something that they would actually really profess. Let's help my spiritual master in the process of dissemination of books, preaching, like that.
Movement. And, even when Prabhupada was present with us, we just say that was a guru-centric movement, but most of us didn't have any direct access to Prabhupada, the rank and file. No. Our access was, Prabhupada established a chain of command.
That's right.
See, so in that sense, it was guru-centric. Prabhupada gave it, there's GBCs, there's sannyasis, there's temple presidents. They have their function. And if you're cooperating with the chain of command, then you were cooperating with Prabhupada. Yeah. That was the understanding. If I'm pleasing my immediate superior, my temple commander, my temple president like that, you're pleasing Prabhupada. So in that sense, it was guru-centric. And that exists now. See? So the chain of command is there, and if somebody is cooperating with the chain of command, then they can understand that they're pleasing the spiritual master.
Yeah, because Srila Prabhupada gave a lot of instruction, cow protection, Gurukul, just so many variety of things that Prabhupada gave. But I think one centralized issue with Srila Prabhupada was this dissemination of Krishna consciousness through book distribution, preaching processes, like that.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Could you please elaborate a little more on how only a few devotees who are practicing bhakti with resolute determination will change the whole world?
How it can change the whole world? Well, I'm still waiting to see that myself. It does change the world. You can see, when I first joined Krishna consciousness, I don't think anybody hardly knew about karma. Hardly anybody was a vegetarian. Hardly anyone heard about the four regulative principles, except in a nasty way. So it's happening right under our eyes. It's manifesting, and so we see that if we continue, it'll only expand. And there's the terminologies like karma and things like that. That was never even, who isn't, we never knew anything about those kind of, we didn't know anything about it at all. And then Srila Prabhupada came and introduced us to all these things. And even for that matter, yoga was something that was really not, even spoken about. They had no idea. So I think that just what you see going on today is a replica of how the world can change, just by that. How many vegetarians are there in America? There's millions. I think when we joined this movement, if you told them you were a vegetarian, they're what? They thought that it meant you just ate lettuce or something, and some corn. And that's impossible. But look at it now. You go across the street. How many people there, how many vegetarian places over there? That's phenomenal.
It's not just your sentiment. Prabhupada used to quote that, I think it's by Chanakya Pandit, Ekas Chandra Tamoha. If there's one moon, he said, what is the need for all these rubbish stars? So many stars. If we get one moon, that's sufficient. So that was Prabhupada's, and based on Chanakya Pandit's statement, that was Prabhupada's vision, that if even a few of my disciples become really pure devotees, then that'll do the trick.
Just like, you probably didn't even really know about Krishna consciousness when you were growing up so much, right? You heard a little bit, but look at now, look at you, look what you're doing. You even got tilak on your forehead. That's a transformation. Oh.
There was actually an article in Time magazine many years ago, I forget the year, but in which they had about a 5-page chronology along the bottom of 5 pages of yoga in America, yoga, vegetarianism in America. Actually, I think it was just vegetarianism. And they gave Srila Prabhupada, because autobiography of a yogi, anyway, he came earlier, but they gave Prabhupada credit, 100% credit. He was next in the line, and that he brought vegetarianism to America.
Haribo!
He gets total credit, according to Time magazine.
Thank you. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Okay? Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.